This video is sponsored by InVideo AI. The pounding of helicopter blades thundered above the dense Vietnamese jungle as bullets whizzed past, cracking the air. Below, the men of the U.S. 1st Infantry Division were pinned down, surrounded by a sea of Viet Cong gunfire. Their only hope came from above, in the tumbling cable lowering William H. Pitsenbarger into the chaos. While his H-43 Husky tried to hover over the trees, Pitsenbarger descended while the jungle canopy closed in around him. The scene below was a nightmare, a battlefield littered with wounded soldiers scattered across the mud. Yet, as soon as his feet touched the ground, Pitsenbarger was in motion. A rifle in one hand, his medical kit in the other, he darted through the barrage, hoisting the men of the 1st, one by one, back to the helicopter above. Suddenly, a burst of enemy fire struck the helicopter. Pitsenbarger turned to see the smoke rising from the Husky's sputtering engine. The pilot frantically signaled him to grab the cable and evacuate before they lost the chopper. It was his last chance. But as one soldier put it, quote, "There was only one man on the ground that day who would have turned down a ride out of that hellhole." Pitsenbarger shook his head, waved the helicopter away, and reloaded his rifle. Throughout history, groundbreaking technologies have reshaped the landscape of warfare, from the invention of gunpowder to the development of nuclear weapons. Now, a revolution is unfolding in the realm of video creation, and it's called InVideo AI V3. This new update is a cutting-edge tool poised to transform how AI videos are produced. InVideo AI V3 isn't just another video editor. It's a full-scale content creation command center. With its state-of-the-art generative capabilities, it can whip up videos on any subject you can conceive using just a simple text prompt. Unlike other AI video tools, it doesn't just generate clips. It creates complete, publishable videos that are fully loaded and ready for your audience. Let's put InVideo AI V3 through its paces. We challenged it to create a short video about a robot in a cyberpunk setting that wants to escape the Matrix. Here's what it delivered in mere minutes. As you can see, InVideo AI V3 means business, but that's just the opening salvo. The true power of InVideo AI V3 lies in its efficiency. Rather than having to use different tools for different functions, it can do everything itself. It's like having an entire army of production personnel at your fingertips, ready to make your most creative ideas come to life with military precision. It allows you to change anything you like, and even add your own voice. While other AI video tools are still languishing in the research phase, InVideo AI V3 is going to be battle-ready in just a few weeks. If you've yet to experience its current version's serious firepower, it's the perfect time to enlist for free using the link in the description, with paid plans starting at just $20 a month. What's more, if you use our code DARKDOCS50, you'll receive double the video creation minutes in your first month. Take advantage of this great opportunity and start your campaign for AI video domination today. Pitsenbarger was born on July 8, 1944, in the small town of Piqua, Ohio. As an only child, in a time when it was a rare occurrence, Pitsenbarger channeled his restlessness and isolation into ambition and drive to be the best. Even as a young schoolboy, William was determined to become a fighter no matter the cost. Eager to join the U.S. Army and wear the coveted Green Beret, he dropped out of high school. His parents were furious and refused to sign his enlistment form, eventually convincing the boy to finish high school. Waiting did not put out the fire inside Pitsenbarger. Instead of the Army, Pitsenbarger chose the skies, enlisting in the U.S. Air Force. There, he found a new calling, in the elite ranks of the pararescue jumpers. The training was grueling, an experience unlike any other in the U.S. Armed Forces. Like a paratrooper, he had to go through the U.S. Army Parachute School, then Air Force rescue training, which included paramedic training. After that, he underwent jungle survival courses in the unforgiving waters of the U.S. Navy's scuba diving program. By the end of it, Pitsenbarger was a survival specialist, equipped to plunge into any battlefield and save men, even at the expense of their own lives. August 1965 saw Pitsenbarger deployed to Vietnam. Over the next few months, he would embark on more than 250 missions, dropping into firefights, minefields, and dense jungles to save others written off as lost. In March 1966, suspended from a cable beneath an HH-43 Husky helicopter, Pitsenbarger dangled above a burning minefield where a South Vietnamese soldier lay, gravely wounded and bleeding out. As Pitsenbarger descended into the maelstrom, he could feel the encroaching flames searing the air he inhaled. The wind dangled him like a pendulum, as the sound of the chopper's rotor drowned out everything else. Stranded in the middle of the burning minefield, an air rescue was the only hope for the South Vietnamese fighter, who now struggled to stay conscious. The rescue had to be quick and precise, ensuring the least amount of time on the ground as possible. Just one misstep, and Pitsenbarger could trigger another mine, instantly ending both their lives. Pitsenbarger had an almost uncanny ability to remain calm and focused, even at the most harrowing moments. He reached the ground, secured the wounded man, and signaled the other airmen to hoist them up, even as the flames stretched to reach them. For this fearless display of heroism, he was awarded the Airman's Medal, the Gallantry Cross with Bronze Palm, and the Republic of Vietnam's Medal of Military Merit. Known by most as Pitts, among his fellow airmen, Pitsenbarger was already a hero and a true embodiment of the ideal pararescue man. But there was still work to do in Vietnam. On April 11, 1966, the worst circle of hell opened up for 134 U.S. soldiers of the 1st Infantry Division, Charlie Company, 2nd Battalion, 16th Infantry, when they were ambushed and encircled by a 500-man-strong Viet Cong battalion in a deeply forested area near the village of Cam Mai. They were cut out from any possible reinforcements and completely isolated in the heart of the jungle. In the raw, humid bottom of the jungle floor, pinned down by unending enemy fire, the soldiers found themselves facing their worst nightmares. The oppressive din of battle drowned out all other sounds, and movement seemed impossible under the hail of bullets. The intense atmosphere weighed heavily on even the most experienced fighters. One soldier later recounted, quote, "The psychological pressure was beyond comprehension." The toll of the battle became devastatingly clear when a seasoned American fire team leader, a veteran of both World War II and Korea, succumbed to the overwhelming stress. Despite his years of combat experience, he, quote, curled up in a fetal position and sobbed uncontrollably. Men were falling in every direction. There were already over a dozen wounded soldiers. All morale collapsed, and it was only a matter of time before the entire unit was annihilated. For everyone, these men were beyond saving. Except maybe for the pararescue men of the U.S. Air Force. The call came in at 3:07 p.m. on April 11th, 1966, and Pitsenbarger snapped into action. In the alert room at Bien Hoa, he learned that Charlie Company was in desperate need. The briefing was short and impactful, and Pitsenbarger instantly understood the gravity of the situation. He whispered to a friend, quote, "There's about 1 million VC in the area. I don't have a good feeling about this one." He and his fellow rescue men moved quickly. 2 Husky helicopters were swiftly readied for the rescue. Pitts boarded Pedro 73 as the rescue and survival specialist. Pedro 97 would follow closely behind. 30 minutes later, they were there. Below, Charlie Company had marked their position with colored smoke. Gunfire erupted from the jungle towards the sky as the helicopters hovered above the towering trees, searching for any small opening in the canopy. The blades sliced through the air, only 5 feet from the treetops, while enemy bullets cracked around them. Pitts scanned the chaos. The enemy didn't seem to have any considerable anti-air weapons, but their numbers were so overwhelming that it was just a matter of time before their small arms fire tore through the choppers. Pedro 97 and Pedro 73 began lowering litters, hoisting the wounded and shuttling them to a hospital 8 miles south. But it wasn't enough. Wounded men were still bleeding out, pinned by gunfire, barely clinging to life. Many of them would never make it to the litter baskets. Pitts knew he had to go down. Quote, "Once I'm down there, I can really help out," he told Captain Hal Salem. Grabbing his medical bag, rifle, and pistol, Pitts hooked himself up. A big grin was on his face as he descended, and Captain Salem watched him go, saying a silent prayer. Pitts dropped 100 feet into the madness below. On the ground, the situation was much worse than anything Pitts had ever seen before. Lieutenant Martin Crowe remembered the bullets pouring in so relentlessly that, quote, "all a person could do was get as close to the ground as possible and pray." Charlie Company's medic was paralyzed with fear, unable to move. But Pitts didn't hesitate. He had made his call. He dashed through the gunfire, dragging wounded men out of danger, bandaging wounds, shouting orders, and then getting the men to the litter baskets. He became a lifeline, pulling 9 men to safety as the Huskies returned repeatedly. As Pitsenbarger rushed toward his 10th rescue of the day, a lucky burst of enemy fire finally struck the engine of Pedro 73, and the pilot discovered in horror that he was losing power fast. The airmen had to take the chopper and the wounded men aboard to safety while he still could. It was time to retreat. He immediately signaled Pitts to hop into the basket, and they had to go. Pitsenbarger turned back to see his fellow Americans still trapped in the worst conditions he'd seen in his life, with a shell-shocked medic that was no good to them. There was no way he was going to leave them there, so he waved off the rescue cable. The chopper crew frantically signaled, trying to get him to grab hold, but he just shook his head. Salem would later say, quote, "Without any hesitation, Pitts elected to stay on the ground with the wounded." The Viet Cong tightened the noose, shredding Charlie Company's position with machine guns and mortar fire. Men fell all around, and the trees erupted with sniper fire. Pitts moved from soldier to soldier, handing out ammunition, dragging the wounded to cover, and even using fallen soldiers to shield the living. He fastened stretchers from vines and branches, somehow keeping his cool, even as their position devolved into chaos. He was everywhere, doing everything. Sergeant Charles F. Navarro watched in awe as Pitts covered him with a body, shielding him from bullets. Quote, "He looked at my wound, said it wasn't serious, and told me, 'Don't give up. We can get out of this mess.'" Then Pitts moved on, vanishing into the smoke, on to the next wounded man who needed him. The enemy was overwhelming the region. The area was too hot for the Huskies to return. Soon, not even Pitts' legendary fearlessness was enough to slow down the path of fate. He took a bullet to the back, and another to the shoulder, and another to the thigh. Blood poured, but he stayed on his feet. He kept moving, refusing to fall. In his final moments, he was still there, a rifle in his hand, firing back at the enemy, when an enemy bullet finally struck him in the head around 7:30 p.m. And just like that, the light went out. But his fight wasn't over. Charlie Company held on, teeth clenched. They'd suffered 80% casualties, the ground around them soaked in blood. It was so desperate that they called artillery strikes on their own position, preferring to face fire from their own side, rather than be overrun by the enemy. It worked. By 9 p.m., the Viet Cong retreated. When reinforcements finally reached them at midnight, they found a scene of devastation. The men who survived knew they owed their lives to one man, Airman First Class William H. Pitsenbarger. The soldiers and officers who saw Pitsenbarger's actions that day did not hesitate to postulate him for the Medal of Honor, for his unparalleled bravery and sacrifice. Still, the general in charge of reviewing the request felt there was not enough documentation to support all the claims made by the men. So he recommended downgrading the decoration to the Air Force Cross, posthumously awarded to Pitts on June 30th, 1966. For over 3 decades, the men who fought alongside Pitsenbarger refused to let his sacrifice fade into history. They knew the Air Force Cross, awarded in 1966, fell short of honoring the true extent of his heroism. Men like Captain Salem and Sergeant Navarro, eyewitnesses to his bravery, tirelessly petitioned for the recognition they knew he deserved. On December 8, 2000, their efforts were finally vindicated. In an emotional ceremony at the U.S. Air Force Museum, Pitsenbarger's father stood, now in his 80s, to accept the Medal of Honor on behalf of his son. Pitsenbarger had dreams beyond the battlefield, plans to study nursing at Arizona State. But on April 11, 1966, he chose duty over destiny, living out the pararescue man's creed. These things we do, that others may live. DarkDoc salutes InVideo AI for sponsoring this video. Remember, InVideo AI v3 is soon going to be ready to be your ally in the content creation battlefield. March over to the link in the description now to harness this game-changing technology's current version. Don't forget to use our code DarkDocs50 for your bonus creation minutes. Recruit InVideo AI v3 today, and AI video victory will be yours.